Revealing God's plan, 7 steps to discover miraculous blessings at every crossroad of life. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, amid the woven tapestry of Canaan, a young man named Joseph thrived, nurtured by his father Jacob's unwavering affection. The vibrant hues of his coat spoke volumes, a testament to his father's favor and love. Yet as the sun cast its warm glow over the pastoral lands, shadows of jealousy loomed around him, cloaked in the hearts of his brothers who toiled hard under the vast skies, their labor matched only by their envy. Joseph, the cherished dreamer, knew well the visions that danced in his mind, filled with revelations granted by the Almighty. In these dreams, his sheaves stood tall while his brothers bowed low, symbols of a destiny woven with divine purpose. Yet ignorance shadowed them, for the path to greatness was shrouded with trials, resting in the hands of God, unseen but ever present. One fateful day, as Joseph approached his brothers at Shechem, the atmosphere thickened with scorn. "Here comes that dreamer," they sneered, their hearts hardened by jealousy. Driven by their unchecked rage, they seized him, ripped his colorful coat from him, and cast him into a dark pit, a chilling silence consuming the air as Joseph cried out for mercy. Within that damp, echoing chasm, despair began to seep into his heart, yet a spark of hope flickered as he recalled his dreams. Those heavenly visions abide, unbroken by the scorn of men. Just when darkness threatened to consume him completely, a caravan of Midianite traders approached, bringing an unfathomable twist to his fate. Bound and sold for silver, Joseph found himself torn from Canaan and thrust into the unfamiliarity of Egypt, landing in the household of Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's guard. Yet, even in the throes of enslavement, God's presence was his anchor, granting him favor. His diligence and integrity shone through each menial task, a testament to the indomitable spirit gifted to him. However, temptation lurked in the shadows, for Potiphar's wife, captivated by Joseph's youth and charm, sought to ensnare him. With each advance, Joseph grappled with the choice between gratifying fleeting desires or adhering to divine decree. "How could I do this great wickedness?" he exclaimed, choosing to flee from evil. Yet even in his righteousness, his escape left him unjustly clothed in disgrace as his master cast him into prison. It was within those cold, oppressive walls that Joseph leaned into God's promise. He recalled the cries of his brothers' yearning for redemption echoing in his mind and poured his heart into the plight of fellow prisoners. When they were troubled by perplexing dreams, Joseph stepped forth with courage, offering divine insight shaped by the God who revealed mysteries. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As Joseph interpreted dreams with the wisdom bestowed upon him interpreting futures wrapped in divine truth, a shocking realization loomed. Would he remain shackled, a forsaken soul amongst shadows, or was there a greater design at play, interwoven with the survival of nations? The dilemma hung in the air, thick with tension and wonder, as Joseph's journey unfurled like the mysteries of God's plan waiting to be revealed, urging the hearts of the faithful to anticipate the wonders yet to come. And it came to pass, after a time, that the chief butler and the chief baker of the king of Egypt offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was wroth against his 2 officers, and he put them in ward in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison where Joseph was confined. The butler and the baker, troubled and anxious, bore heavy hearts, for their dreams tormented them with enigma. When Joseph came unto them, he beheld their sad countenances and asked, "Why are your faces so sad today?" They answered him, "We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it." Joseph, with the Spirit of God within him, replied, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you." Then they spoke of their dreams. The butler recounted his vision of a vine with 3 branches, budding and blossoming, yielding ripe grapes, which were pressed into Pharaoh's cup. Joseph, filled with divine insight, interpreted the dream, saying, "This is the interpretation, the 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head and restore thee to thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand." The chief baker, encouraged, also relayed his dream, in which he bore 3 white baskets on his head, filled with all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh. Joseph, hearing his account, paused, for he sensed the weight of the revelation. "This is the interpretation, the 3 baskets are 3 days, yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee." And it came to pass, on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast for all his servants. He lifted up the head of the chief butler and the chief baker among his servants. As Joseph had foretold, the butler was restored to his former position, but the baker was hanged as the word of Joseph had declared. Yet despite the fulfillment of the prophecy, the butler, now back in Pharaoh's favor, forgot Joseph in his time of liberation. Days turned into years, and disappointment began to weave itself into the fabric of Joseph's existence. Still, even in this obscurity, the purpose of God remained steadfast. In those quiet moments, Joseph felt the divine hand upon him. He knew that every trial crafted his character. Reflecting upon the dreams of his youth, he understood that God's plans were yet to unfold. He awaited that God would ultimately reveal the tapestry of his life. And it came to pass, after 2 full years, that Pharaoh dreamed dreams, and behold, he stood by the river. Out of the river came 7 well-favored cows, fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. After them, 7 other cows arose, lean and ill-favored, standing by the riverbank. The lean cows devoured the fat ones, yet they appeared not to be full. Pharaoh awoke, troubled. Then he dreamed yet again, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good, and behold, 7 thin ears, blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. The thin ears swallowed up the 7 rank and full ears. Pharaoh awoke, and his spirit was troubled. He sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men, yet none could interpret the dream. In that moment, the chief butler remembered Joseph. "I do remember my faults this day," he exclaimed to Pharaoh, recounting how Joseph had rightly interpreted his dreams. Pharaoh commanded that Joseph be brought forth, for a divine purpose was in motion, one that would lead not only to Joseph's vindication but also to the deliverance of nations, a sovereign plan woven into the fibers of history. As Joseph prepared to meet Pharaoh, the shadow of his past became illuminated with the promise of God's providence. The time had come for God's promise to unveil the intricate design of his salvation and sovereignty. Would Joseph's trials yield fruit that could save his family and fulfill the covenant made with his forefathers? What revelation awaited in the chambers of Pharaoh's palace? The faithful must wait and wonder. God's sovereign plan was about to be laid bare. And Joseph was hastily brought out of the dungeon. He shaved himself and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh spake unto Joseph, saying, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. I have heard say of thee, that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. Then Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 fat cows, and they fed in a meadow. And, lo, 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ill-favored, and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored cows did eat up the first 7 fat cows. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored, as at the beginning. So I awoke. And I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And, behold, 7 thin ears, blasted with the east wind, sprang up after them, and the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it unto me. Then Joseph said unto Pharaoh, The dreams of Pharaoh are 1, God hath showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years, the dreams are 1. And the 7 thin and ill-favored cows that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh, what God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice, it is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thus, Pharaoh appointed Joseph as ruler over all Egypt, and Joseph, adorned in garments of authority, was given a signet ring upon his hand. Great was the favor shown unto him, for it was God's purpose unfolding a sovereign plan still hidden from the eye. Could it be that Joseph's ascension was not merely for his own glory, but for the salvation of his family, the fulfillment of the covenant, and the redemption of the people? What mysteries lie ahead in the land of Egypt, crafted by the hand of the Almighty? The world must watch and wait, for God's grand design is still revealing itself. And Pharaoh spake unto Joseph, saying, Inasmuch as God hath made thee to know all this, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had, and they cried before him, Bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. Thus, Joseph became the highest in authority under Pharaoh, the steward of the nation, governor of the land, appointed to oversee the preparations for the years of plenty and the years of famine to come. In those days of abundance, Joseph went forth throughout all the land of Egypt and gathered corn as the sand of the sea, very much, until he left numbering, for it was without number. The land yielded abundantly, and Joseph stored the grain in cities, gathering it from the field surrounding each city. Thus, the storehouses filled with the bounty of the harvest became a sight to behold. As the years of plenty passed, Joseph married Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, and she bore him 2 sons. And Joseph named the firstborn Manasseh, for he said, God hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the second named he Ephraim, for God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. But as the years rolled on, the promised famine began to encroach upon the land. The earth grew dry, and the rivers ran low. There was no bread to be found, and the hunger spread swiftly across Egypt and the surrounding nations, piercing hearts and families with despair. Then the people cried unto Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, Go unto Joseph, what he saith to you, do. Thus, the people streamed to Joseph, and he opened the storehouses, giving grain to those who had none. Blessed was Joseph in this hour, for he was the instrument of sustenance appointed by God. And when the famine was sore in the land, it reached unto the land of Canaan, where Jacob dwelled with his sons. Jacob, hearing that there was grain in Egypt, said unto his sons, Why do ye look one upon another? Behold, I have heard that there is corn in Egypt, get you down thither, and buy for us from thence, that we may live, and not die. And so, the brothers journeyed to Egypt, unknowing of the hand of providence guiding their path. As they entered the land, they approached Joseph, the very brother they had sold into slavery. But they did not recognize him, for he had changed in stature and station, seasoned by trials and adorned with Egyptian authority. Yet in his heart, Joseph felt a stirring, a remembrance of his dreams, and of the covenant made with his fathers. Could it be that this was the moment foretold, a reunion that would echo through generations? For what was meant for evil, God intended for good. Would Joseph reveal himself, and would the tapestry of God's great design begin to unravel? A divine plan awaited its revelation, interwoven in the life of this family and the nation. In this hour, hearts quaked with uncertainty, and a mystery loomed over Egypt. The words of the Almighty echoed in the depths of Joseph's soul, "What is hidden shall be revealed." And it came to pass, when Joseph saw his brethren, that he recognized them, but he made himself strange unto them and spake roughly unto them. "Whence come ye?" he asked, and they answered, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." But Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and he said unto them, "Ye are spies, to see the nakedness of the land ye are come." Their hearts trembled, and they said, "Nay, my lord, but to buy food are thy servants come." Joseph pressed them further, testing their truthfulness. "Ye are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan, and behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not." And he said, "Hereby ye shall be proved, by the life of Pharaoh, ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither." Such was his way, for Joseph sought to discern their hearts, whether they had changed since the days of their deeds against him. And they spake among themselves, saying, "We are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear, therefore is this distress come upon us." Then Joseph turned himself away from them and wept. His heart ached within him, for he longed for reconciliation and desired to know if his father still lived. Yet he concealed his emotions, revealing none of his identity, for he was neither ready to forgive nor to forget until he had seen transformation in them. After much deliberation, Joseph commanded that Simeon be bound before their eyes, and he charged them to return with Benjamin, that he might see his brother who had been spared in their father's sight, and perhaps their hearts would soften. And Joseph gave commandment that their sacks be filled with corn, and their money restored. Thus, they departed, unaware of the intricate designs of the Lord woven into every stitch of anxiety and yearning within Joseph. When they returned to Canaan, their father Jacob was distressed upon seeing the empty sacks and the restored money. "Me have ye bereaved of my children," he lamented. "Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and now ye will take Benjamin away." They spoke unto him of the governor's command, and Jacob's heart was heavy with fear. "For if any harm befall him by the way in which ye go, ye shall bring down my grey hairs with sorrow to the grave." Yet the famine pressed hard, and Jacob, seeing they could not tarry, reluctantly consented. "If it must be so now, do this, take of the best fruits in the land in your vessels, and carry down the man a present, a little balm, and a little honey, spices, myrrh, nuts, and almonds." And as they journeyed back to Egypt, they marveled at the uncertainties that lay ahead, but within them lingered a hope and unspoken conviction. What if this governor was indeed their brother? What if their actions had led them not merely away from home, but toward a divine restoration? In the depths of all their trials and heartaches, it was God's sovereign hand that orchestrated the events for good. Even through perplexity and pain, the voice of Jehovah resonated, whispering truths to the hearts of the broken and lost. "What is hidden shall be revealed, and the time will come for my purpose to unfold." And it came to pass, as the brothers returned to the land of Egypt, laden with gifts and trembling with uncertainty, that they arrived at the house of the governor. The steward of Joseph's house met them, and they were filled with trepidation, for they feared the matter with which they were accused. They said unto the steward, "O sir, we came indeed down the first time to buy food, and it came to pass, when we came to the inn, that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight, therefore we have brought it again in our hand." The steward answered them, "Peace be to you, fear not, your God, and the God of your father, hath given you treasure in your sacks, I had your money. Thus, he brought forth Simeon unto them, and their hearts were momentarily eased as they embraced their brother, who had been held in a land not their own. When Joseph came home, they presented unto him the gifts they had brought, and bowed themselves to the earth before him. Joseph inquired after their welfare, Is your father well, the old man of whom ye spake? Is he yet alive? And they answered, Thy servant our father is in good health, he is yet alive. They bowed down in homage once more, not realizing that they fulfilled the dreams of Joseph, which foretold their prostration before him. And Joseph lifted his eyes, and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother of whom ye spake unto me? The heart of Joseph yearned for him, and he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph was unable to refrain himself as he turned aside, for he could not bear the torrent of emotions that surged through him. He wept in secret, for the spirit stirred within him. With great zeal, he prepared a banquet for them, commanding that his brothers sit before him according to their birthright. And they marveled as they beheld their portions, each served according to their age. But Joseph observed them, searching for signs of their heart's transformation. He took Benjamin's portion and gave him 5 times more than any of the others. They were filled with joy, and their fear diminished as they drank freely with him, for the heavy hand of the past was beginning to lift from their shoulders. Yet Joseph remained steadfast in his resolve to seek truth. The next day, he devised a plan, taking his silver cup and placing it in Benjamin's sack without their knowledge. When morning came, and they departed, Joseph sent his steward after them, demanding to search their sacks. When they found the cup in Benjamin's sack, anguish enveloped the brothers once more, and they returned to the city with grief. They fell before Joseph, their faces to the ground, pleading for mercy, for they knew not what would become of their youngest brother. In that moment of desperation, Joseph revealed his true identity, saying, I am Joseph, doth my father yet live? The room fell silent, tension thick in the air, as the reality of their past rushed back to them, and they were terrified at his presence. But Joseph spoke tenderly, Fear not, for it was not you that sent me hither, but God, for to preserve life, he sent me before you. The path of their anguish was but a thread in God's weaving hand. He continued, revealing the purpose of their suffering, I will provide for you and your families, for there are yet 5 years of famine to come. Thus it was, the weight of transgression melted into the promise of divine grace. And as the eyes of Joseph beheld his brothers, an echo resounded in the heavens, what was meant for evil, God meant for good. The stage was set for a glorious unfolding of God's sovereign plan, one where reconciliation would lead to restoration beyond what they could imagine. And Joseph commanded his brothers, saying, Draw near to me, I pray you. They approached him, hearts thundering with anxiety and wonder, for they could hardly fathom the enormity of the moment. I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt, he reiterated, his voice steady yet filled with an echo of deep emotion. The air was thick with the weight of unspoken words as he continued, Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. His countenance shone with a divine light, and the brothers felt the chains of guilt begin to shatter under the weight of God's grace. Joseph then directed them, For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years, in which there shall neither be plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. At his proclamation, the hearts of the brothers transformed. They began to see not merely what they had done, but the marvelous providence of God unfolding before their very eyes. They embraced one another, tears flowing freely, as the enormity of forgiveness washed over them. The tears of remorse turned to tears of relief, for their brother was alive, and mercy had triumphed over judgment. And Joseph said unto his brethren, Go ye up unto my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me Lord of all Egypt, come down unto me, tarry not. The plan of God lay before them, a path of restoration that would encompass not only their own lives but the very lineage of Israel. The brothers hurried forth, hearts now brimming with hope. As they journeyed back to Canaan, they spoke of all that had transpired, declaring, "Joseph is yet alive." The news rekindled the faith of their weary father Jacob, filling his spirit with an anticipation he thought lost to time. When they reached Jacob, they fell before him in reverence, and one spoke, "Joseph is alive. He is governor over all the land of Egypt." At these words, Jacob's heart for a moment stood still, his mind struggling against disbelief. But as they recounted all the words that Joseph had spoken, and as he beheld the wagons laden with the spoils of Egypt, life rushed back into Jacob's bones. "It is enough," he proclaimed, "Joseph my son is yet alive, I will go and see him before I die." Thus, the family began their journey unto Egypt, drawn by the promise of reunion and sustenance. Little did they know, this was the very act of God setting the stage for a greater revelation, one that would intertwine their destinies with that of a nation. Meanwhile, the hand of God was at work, orchestrating events unseen, as the land of Egypt prepared for the influx of Jacob's household. Even the nations surrounding would be touched by this momentous reunion and divine provision. And thus, as the sun set upon the horizon, a new chapter unfurled, one where despair transformed into hope, old resentments into forgiveness, and a family reunited bore witness to the faithfulness of the Almighty. But the whispers of destiny were not yet silenced, for the promise lay ahead. God had a covenant to fulfill, one that would echo through generations. What would unfold next would not only prosper Israel but would weave his purpose into the very fabric of human history, a divine tapestry of redemption yet untold. And Jacob, filled with a mixture of joy and apprehension, set forth with his sons towards Egypt, a pilgrimage driven by faith in the promise of reunion. As they traversed the vast expanse of desert, the memory of Joseph lingered in their hearts, a cherished thought that intertwined hope and bittersweet longing. When they arrived in the land of Goshen, Joseph, having received news of their coming, prepared his chariot and went to meet them. The sight of his father, the patriarch Jacob, caused a great swell of emotion within him. He ran to meet him and fell upon his neck, weeping for a long season. And Jacob, for his part, beheld his beloved Joseph, and his heart was at once full of marvel and praise. "Now let me die," Jacob proclaimed, "since I have seen your face, because you are yet alive." The tears of reunion mingled with those of gratitude, and in that moment, all the sorrow of years past began to fade, a testament to the enduring grace of God even amid trials. Joseph, ever wise and aware of the precariousness of their situation, spoke tenderly to his father, saying, "I will go up and speak to Pharaoh, and will say unto him, My brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me." He understood the necessity of establishing favor in the eyes of the ruler, ensuring not only their survival but their thraldom to the good graces of Egypt. Thus Joseph went, and he stood before Pharaoh with a heart full of the Spirit of God, saying, "My family has come to me in the land of Canaan, and here they find refuge until the famine passes." Pharaoh was moved by the presence of Joseph and the tale of his family. He offered them the best of the land, "Let them dwell in the land of Goshen, for it is good. And if thou knowest any among them that are men of activity, make them rulers over my cattle." And so it was that Jacob and his sons settled in the land, blessed beyond measure, as the hand of God rested upon them. Their flocks grew, and their numbers increased exceedingly, overshadowing the surrounding land. But amidst the prosperity, a shadow loomed in the distance. The years rolled on, and as the generations thickened, Joseph's stature in Egypt became a source of envy and fear among the Egyptians. A new Pharaoh arose, one who knew not Joseph and who, looking upon the children of Israel with suspicion, proclaimed, "Behold, the children of Israel are more and mightier than we." Thus, fear drove him to cruel measures, for he sought to thwart their growing might. He appointed taskmasters over them to afflict them with burdens, thinking to suppress their strength. But in their affliction, they multiplied and grew. God's hand was upon them still. And the cries of the oppressed reached the heavens, echoing the prayers of their forefather Jacob, who once fled to Egypt seeking refuge. In this moment of darkness, little did they know that God was preparing a deliverance that would shake the foundations of nations and reveal his profound sovereign plan. For amidst the trials yet to come, a mighty leader would rise up to rescue his people, a prophet who would speak forth his commands and lead them into a promised land, fulfilling the covenant made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And thus, the story unfolds, a divine narrative of redemption waiting to be discovered, each twist and turn a glimpse into the heart of the Almighty, poised to restore his people and establish his glory among the nations. As days turned into years, the oppression of the children of Israel grew heavier, the taskmasters increased their burdens, striving to break the spirit of the descendants of Jacob. Tremors of despair rippled through the households, yet still they endured. For even amidst bondage, the Lord's promise to Abraham flickered in the hearts of his chosen people, a beacon of hope in the night. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, the word recounts, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar, and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. Exodus 1 verses 13-14, the weight of their suffering pressed down upon them like a mountain, yet their cries ascended to God. In response, the Almighty God, who keeps covenant and shows mercy, looked upon his people with compassion. He remembered the covenant he had sworn to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and his heart swelled with resolve. Thus, he stirred within Pharaoh a fear and anxiety born of the growing might of the Israelites. "Come," Pharaoh declared to his people, "let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass, that, when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies." Exodus 1 verse 10, and so, the visage of oppression morphed into a sinister plot, a decree to cast every male child born to the Hebrews into the Nile. As the decree spread throughout the land, a woman from the tribe of Levi bore a son, and when she saw that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. But as the days dwindled, she could no longer conceal him. With a heart heavy yet determined, she crafted a basket of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and pitch. She placed the child within, setting it among the reeds by the river's brink. Miracles often unfold in the crucible of faith, and in that very moment, God's divine orchestration began to unveil itself. For as the child's sister stood afar off to witness what would happen, the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. She espied the basket and, opening it, beheld the crying infant. "This is one of the Hebrews' children," she exclaimed, and her heart was moved with compassion. Exodus 2 verse 6, the sister, quick in her stride, approached with an insightful boldness, saying to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee?" Exodus 2 verse 7, and so it was that the child's own mother was called forth to nourish and care for him, preserving his life under the watchful eye of divine providence. As the boy grew, he was named Moses, for she said, "Because I drew him out of the water." Exodus 2 verse 10, little did they know that this child, raised in the palace of Pharaoh, would become the very instrument of God's deliverance for his people. And as the tapestry of events began to intertwine, God's judgment loomed over Egypt, for in the oppression of his people, he was preparing to reveal his might and power. Who could fathom the depths of the Almighty's plan lay in the womb of sorrow, ready to burst forth into a nation's reckoning. Thus, the moment of destiny approached, and each step forward, guided by the hand of God, would lead his people to the brink of a new covenant, a redemption that would echo through the ages and sing of his unfailing love. The people cried out in their agony, unaware that soon the tide would shift, heralding the arrival of a liberator from among their own, a pattern of God's faithfulness about to unfold. And thus the stage was set for a great confrontation, one which would showcase his glory and demonstrate his power over all nations, establishing his sovereign plan where none could stand against him. In the busy courts of Pharaoh's palace, lives intertwined under the vigilant eyes of the Almighty, as Joseph remained steadfast, governing the land of Egypt through both abundance and want. This was not merely a tale of earthly power, this was the orchestration of a heavenly design, God's promise echoing through the corridors of time. As the years of famine deepened, the souls of men across the land fell into despair. The Egyptians, once proud, found themselves humbled, and they came to Joseph for sustenance, for he was the gatekeeper of life in a time of death. "Give us bread, lest we perish," they pleaded, and Joseph, wise and discerning, opened his storehouses, pouring forth mercies born from God's abundant grace. Yet in Canaan, Jacob's heart was heavy, worn by the struggles of a father who had lost much. The famine's grip pressed tightly upon him. "Go again, my sons," he ordered, desperation rising in his voice. "Seek sustenance, for we shall die if we remain idle." Thus, the brothers ventured once more into Egypt, unaware that they were summoned by divine purpose into the court of their long-lost brother. Upon their arrival, the stage was set for a climactic revelation, a moment where the veil of the past would lift and the power of forgiveness dance in the air. As Joseph stood before them, the years of pain transformed into a reservoir of compassion. Their faces, marked by frailty and fear, were met by his strong gaze, filled with both authority and unyielding love. "You seek grain?" he asked, masking his heart's longing, watching for signs of growth in their spirits. They stood trembling, recalling the weight of their past deeds. "We are 10 brothers from the land of Canaan," they said, pleading for mercy, their voices thick with trembling remorse. "We have come to buy food." And it was in this moment of vulnerability, Joseph perceived their hearts. The time for reunion and restoration had arrived. "Bring forth your youngest brother," he commanded, probing to uncover the depths of their transformation. Would they return for Benjamin? Would they risk it all, as they had once done with him? The brothers exchanged wary glances, uncertainty clouding their hope, yet a flicker of determination bloomed. "We will not repeat our past," they silently vowed. Joseph's plan unfolded like the layers of a sacred scroll, woven rich with purpose. As they returned with Benjamin, true fear and genuine repentance emerged. The day arrived, and at the banquet table, Joseph's heart was overwhelmed as he witnessed the change. The brothers still bore the mark of their past, yet they encircled their youngest with protectiveness. It was a pivotal moment, a sign of redemption molded by God's hand, evidencing how the years had reformed their hearts. Then, the moment came for revelation. "I am Joseph, your brother," he proclaimed with tears streaming down his face, the weight of his identity crashing like waves upon the shores of their hearts. Faces turned pale as memories flooded back, and fear overwhelmed them, yet he spoke forth the words wrapped in grace. "Do not be afraid, for God sent me before you to preserve life." As the truth seeped into the depth of their beings, forgiveness washed over them like the cleansing rain. "I will provide for you and for your little ones," Joseph declared, his voice resounding with the authority of a leader yet filled with a brother's love. The path of their suffering had led to this divine tapestry of restoration, where what was meant for evil turned into good, a testament to the redeeming power of God's sovereign plan. Thus, Jacob and his household journeyed to Egypt, and as they entered the land of Goshen, the joy of reunion enveloped them, echoing through the chambers of history. The family was restored, the covenant renewed, and the promise of God echoed through their lineage. There in Egypt, they flourished amidst the trials, growing mightier with each passing year, but the story did not end with prosperity. As they took root in the wilderness of darkness, the cries of their ancestors filled heaven and heralded the coming of a Redeemer, a high priest destined to intercede for the people. And so, in the tapestry of God's unfolding narrative, it was understood that the struggles faced were but steps along the path to glory. The weight of lineage traced through brokenness and healing, where the mercy of God shone brightest against the backdrop of despair. Family united, the legacy of Joseph continued to inspire, resilient hearts woven into the very fabric of God's promise, a promise that would ripple through generations, manifesting his faithfulness as they walked hand in hand with the Creator. Beloved, now is the time for you to reflect upon these sacred truths. If you have been touched by the story of Joseph's journey of faith, subscribe immediately to our channel to stay anchored in the depth of God's Word. Leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm, reaching those who are searching for hope, redemption, and truth. Don't let this moment pass you by. Comment your spiritual reflections about how Joseph's story has impacted your faith. And remember, share instantly this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. You need to share the light of Christ. Don't wait even one more second. Connect others to the beauty of His divine purpose.